Hello everyone, it's the 1st of May, so many people consider this to be the first day of summer, and then like everything's been blooming, it's strange how I never really notice it happening at first, and then all of a sudden it's there. Look at these ones. I don't know anything about plants, but look at that. I don't even know what they're called. I've seen some bluebells around, I recognise a few plants. I'm no horticulturalist, but over the years I've started to appreciate the simple things in life and just rejoice in things like that. When the snowdrops, when they bloom in January, as in the first flowers that come out, they look white, which is why they're called snowdrops. I'm explaining all this stuff because people on the other side of the world will be watching, and they don't have snowdrops and things like that. So all the flowers have come out, and it's like suddenly late March it happens, and I don't notice it happening gradually. And suddenly it's all there. I remember one time I went to Ireland at Easter and I came back to Great Britain in late April, and it was all of a sudden every tree had a full canopy, the flowers had blossomed, and I could smell the scents of summer. And then look, some of these pink flower petals, they've fallen to the ground already from this tree. Look at that. Isn't that splendid? And there are places where there's lint, this little white fluff falls off a bit like cotton. On the other side of the River Thames, I'll show you in a minute, there was a place and the whole ground was carpeted in it about this time last year. The only downside of this year is that a lot of bugs come out, a lot of little insects or whatever flying around. I see whole swarms of them get into my eyes, into my mouth, sometimes cycling and have to close my eyes and mouth and go for a little while, try and avoid them. But they're only around for about a fortnight. So look at that. Anyway, this is the sort of thing that delights me. Or the really bright greenery. It falls to the ground, some of this, it starts to rot, but even that stench is somehow pleasant. So I appreciate the olfactory sense as well as the visual sense, and all it brings in summer, the thick green vegetation. So I really celebrate the verdure like that in a way that I didn't before. So I've learned to really take the keenest pleasure in nature like that, even though I don't know anything about it. And you see these trees here lined up beside Old Father Thames. Yeah, so that's the River Thames, the river that bisects London behind me, because I'm in Kingston upon Thames, Canonbury Gardens, and where else should we be aware of? Well, it starts in Western England and Gloucestershire, that's the source of it. It flows through Oxford and Reading and so on. And then this central London is that away and now out to the sea. It's tidal till very close to here, as in the river level will rise and fall a lot, and it's actually seawater coming in until Teddington, which is about a mile yonder. So I'm trying to think which bank of the Thames we're on here. We're in the south bank of the Thames, and that's Hampton Wick on the far side. Wick is this Anglo-Saxon word wicca, as in place by the shore. The boats are drawn up for trading, which is why you find it in so many toponyms like Norwich and Ipswich and Aldwych and Harwich, and I can't think of all the others. Anything with wick or witch in it is derived from that. But I wanted to be able to show you more things, like the daisies. Well, the daisies are very small here on the ground here, making daisy chains when I'm supposed to be playing cricket, fielding. I found that so tedious. The tulips come out. I remember one April when I was about 9, running through the tulips at school, deliberately kicking them down. And the next day in assembly saying, oh, and somebody kicked them all down. And they showed us some of the tulips. So next year, at the start of the summer term, I made sure to do exactly the same. Anyway, well, did I ruin the tulips for everyone? I suppose I did, really. And what are the other plants I'd like to show you? Well, maybe that's about it. But yeah, so 1st of May marks the start of summer, traditionally, in Britannic culture. And there'd be all-night parties on the 30th of April, so people wouldn't go to bed. They stay up till dawn, and in Oxford they'd gather below Magdalen Tower, Magdalen College, Oxford, and the choir would get up very early. The choir boys, they're often unbroken voices. They're not undergraduates, they're schoolboys going to Magdalen College School, and so they'd be like 12, 11, things like that. So I don't know what time they have to get up, because dawn is very early these days. It's 5 a.m. or something, and people would gather below the tower, and then the choir sing in Latin to welcome the summer. There's even a poem for this day, Summer is a-coming in. And look at this, these little yellow flowers here. I don't know what they're called. Morris dancers, well, they're often dancing this day, so it's the most important day in their calendar. They wear all white. It used to be all male, but in the First World War, so many men were killed, some women started Morris dancing to keep the tradition alive, wearing bells attached to their legs, to their arms, and one guy playing the accordion and the various other musical instruments, wearing various hats. So apart from the hats, they'd be dressed entirely in white and running back and forward, having pieces of wood and knocking wood on wood. So it's an English folk tradition. Now there's not one correct way to do Morris dancing. Every village had a slightly different tradition, slightly different moves. I'm no terpsichorean and I don't particularly appreciate Morris dancing. The 1st of May is the focal point of their year. So they'll be rehearsing for months leading up to this. They do it a little bit into the summer. The autumn they largely stop. Ooh, look at this old style riverboat going by. Yarmouth Belle. I must take a voyage on this one. It doesn't go very far. And there are little boats you can hire on the Thames for 50 quid to drive yourself. Rather slower than that, much smaller than this one. So these pleasure cruisers, they ply the river most of the year. In the bleak midwinter they're not going. But anyway, back to Morris dancers. So yeah, that's them. But one man used to paint his face coal black. And I don't know why it was totally black, but in recent times I said, that's racialist, that's blackface, you mustn't do that. I suppose you could paint it like silver or purple or just about any other colour and people wouldn't think it was a racialist thing. I don't think it was a racialist thing, I don't know why they did it though. Okay, and then look at these, more flowers. I don't know what they're called, but I really do like all this stuff. Nature, how splendiferous. So I like it when the country proclaims its fullest glory and we see all this verdure and it's just the right shade of green before it starts to fade or almost nothing's rotting. The cow parsley comes out as well, which is why, and it springs up just so high, it always sort of takes me by surprise when it's there, but I do appreciate it. Oh, and these ones, I don't even know what they're called. These aren't dandelions, do you see? We always used to do that as children. Buttercups the flower, a bit like the character in the Gilbert and Sullivan musical. And these ones here, is that cow parsley? Shows what I know. So I don't have much of a green thumb. I mean, I loathe gardening, but I do like seeing it. Even there's a bit of a wilderness, so maybe that would be the romantic in me, and sometimes appreciating it when it's higgledy-piggledy, when it's disordered, not wanting to be too conquered and regulated, like in straight lines. So it shouldn't be man-made. Mother Nature will do what she will. There are other wildernesses that I can show you, which are perhaps more beautiful than this one. So although this is a fine stretch of the river bank, this Pleasance, it's not the most exquisite place. There are places which are finer looking than that, but I derive aesthetic pleasure just from seeing the trees and the greenery. And I don't even know what these trees are called. I'm afraid I'm extraordinarily ignorant when it comes to plant life, though I do value seeing it. I'm very glad we've got green spaces and we haven't overdeveloped. I mean, London's 25% green space. They say more green space than any other metropolis in the world. So that's what makes me so exceptionally fortunate to live here. The trouble is, of course, that property prices sky high, partly kept artificially so because we've got a bit of greenery, but I think it's a price worth paying. So thank you so much for watching my channel, and you can book online lessons with me and everything, you know, history, politics, religious studies, law, French, English as a foreign language, English language, English literature, citizenship, and I help you with essays, theses, dissertations and so forth, interview practice, elocution, you know, improving pronunciation, debating, and I'm a tour guide in Londinium. So please, you can direct message me through this channel, donate on PayPal. I'm georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodle pip.